Alright guys, in this video I am going to talk about the best camera settings for shooting videos for YouTube like what you are seeing right now. So without further delay, let's drop the intro. Before starting this video, if you guys are new here, my name is Shamrit Das and I am a professional graphic designer, video editor and UI UX designer. In this channel, we talk about designing tips, tricks and tutorials. So if you are into it, then consider subscribing to my channel. Also, I have given the timestamps in the video description, so feel free to hop around the entire timeline. Tip number 1. Use manual mode. Most of the time I see that newbies actually bought a camera in order to flex their money, but they don't at all know how to use manual mode on a camera. They actually use it on an auto mode, which is actually quite funny. Most of the time, the cameras that you are using are never going to give you the actual footage that it is capable of while you are shooting in auto mode. So definitely make sure to change up that dial from whatever shit you have to manual mode. I repeat again, never ever use the auto mode in your DSLR or mirrorless camera, not even for shooting photos. Tip number 2. Use autofocus continuous mode. Second thing I want to consider is that change your autofocus mode to continuous mode, because actually that is going to give you the best amount of autofocus performance that you can get from your camera while shooting videos. Most of the modern day cameras have very reliable autofocus, and if you are actually fortunate enough to use a Sony or Canon DSLR or mirrorless camera, then they have killer autofocus system where you don't have to worry at all about hunting focus. Currently I am using a Sony a7C as the main camera and it has a killer autofocus system, so I definitely don't have to worry about hunting focus in the middle of the video, touch wood. Also, the autofocus system of your camera depends highly on the type of lens that you are using, because different lenses have different types of motors in them. So I will definitely insist you guys to actually purchase a decent quality lens and put more money on the lens instead of buying a higher quality of camera body. Hope it makes sense. The Sony 24mm G Master lens is just a dream of mine. So if you guys want to fulfill my dream to a reality, then consider to hit that subscribe button and press that like button of this video in order to make this video more viral. And also, plus point, it's completely free for you. Tip number 3. Use 24 FPS. Most of the time while shooting these YouTube videos, I will recommend you guys to use 24 FPS in your camera settings, because that is going to give you the actual amount of frame rate in a second as 24, and also it is going to give you the most natural amount of motion blur that we are used to seeing in naked eyes. Also, almost all the cinemas and movies are shot in 24 FPS, so it is actually the correct frame rate, which many people are debating about that 30 FPS or 24 FPS is actually good for YouTube. But remember that 24 FPS is going to give you the most amount of cinematic motion blur that you can get from your camera, and also most of the cinemas are shot in 24 FPS, so audience are actually very much comfortable watching at 24 FPS. If you make 30 or 60 FPS videos, it will look more like mobile-ish, and it will obviously look more unprofessional in your videos in YouTube. Tip number 4. 180-degree rule. Basically, you have to follow the 180-degree rule, which is actually keeping the shutter speed as the reciprocal of double the frame rate that you are going to use for shooting the video. This means that, as I have said you in the previous point, that you should shoot your YouTube videos in 24 FPS. That also means that you should keep your shutter speed at 1/48th of a second, ideally, to get the most natural amount of motion blur possible, because what we are used to seeing in naked eyes. If you are deviating from this rule, then your video will look more jagged and jittery, and your audience will obviously find out that something wrong is there with your video. Tip number 5. Never use auto color temperature. Now let's talk about color temperature. Never ever use auto color temperature in your camera, because in the videos it will continuously hunt for the perfect color temperature, and it will definitely make your videos look unprofessional. Sometimes it will go super bluish and sometimes it will go super warm. Most of the time, try to analyze the color temperature of the room in which you are currently shooting in. Most professional photography lights actually have their color temperature specified in their boxes or in their websites, so you can definitely refer them before shooting the video. I'm pretty sure that there are many color temperature analyzer thingy apps in Play Store and App Store, but I will definitely not recommend you guys to actually download them, as they are never going going to give you accurate results. Your camera itself can give you the best result possible in your shooting environment. Your camera have a default color temperature sensor which you can use in order to shoot your videos perfectly in a well-lit condition. You just have to turn on the color temperature analyzer mode in your camera, sit in the middle of the frame with a white t-shirt or holding a white piece of paper, and your camera will do the job once you press the shutter button or someone else from your family actually does. It will actually pick up the proper color temperature for your video considering the environment in which you are in, and it will do the rest of the job on its own. You have to save it in a custom preset and then you can actually use it whichever times you want to use while you are recording the video in the same spot. Sounds interesting, isn't it? That is a great help which I also didn't know, but it is actually present in almost all the cameras. So guys, there you have it. Manual mode checked, frame rate checked, autofocus checked, shutter speed checked, and color temperature also checked. By these settings you can actually make killer Instagram and YouTube videos, but none of your videos will work if the content in them is actually not as professional as your camera settings. So focus on the content and start growing your YouTube channel. So guys, that's it for today's video. Hope you have enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video. Till then, stay creative and I hope to see you in my next video.